Today, we're diving into a topic that could sting a little bit. Criticism at work. We've all been there, right? One tiny suggestion from your boss, and suddenly your project feels less innovative marketing strategy and more toddler finger painting experiment gone wrong. But hold on, before you call out sick for the rest of the day, let's talk about why criticism can be so tough and ways that we can turn criticism in our favor. Are you ready? I hope so, because we're doing this. Hey, I'm Kelsey Taylor with The Working Enneagram, and our channel is dedicated to helping you grow in self-awareness and to appreciate the diverse personalities that you encounter at work. Today, we're going to be using the wisdom of the Enneagram to tackle a common workplace challenge, criticism, and how to handle it effectively. If you'd like more insights on overcoming workplace challenges and personality tips, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, if you're new to the Enneagram, it might seem overwhelming or complex, but it is actually a very simple and powerful tool. It categorizes personality into 9 types, and each have their own unique strength, their own unique motivations, and their own unique style when it comes to communication. And by understanding your Enneagram type and those of the people you work with, you can unlock a whole new level of self-awareness and teamwork. To learn your Enneagram type, if you don't already know it, be sure to check out our YouTube video, 3 Ways to Learn Your Enneagram Type. I've got it linked for you below in the description. Now, before we jump into the types, let me clear something up. Criticism isn't always a bad thing. In fact, sometimes it's just constructive feedback that's truly meant to help us improve. The key difference is the intention. Criticism often feels like a judgment call or an attack on our character, while feedback focuses on improvement. The problem is, sometimes we take neutral comments and we twist them into personal attacks. And here's why this happens. Each Enneagram type has a filter through which they see the world and make sense of the world. So when someone gives feedback, it gets filtered through this lens. And depending on your Enneagram type, it can come out sounding way harsher than intended. Let's look at an example. Imagine Sarah and Michael are working together on a presentation. Sarah's a type 7, and she has packed the slides with exciting visuals, upbeat language. She's made it super fun. And Michael is a type 1, happens to notice some factual inconsistencies and a few typos here and there. No big deal. Michael proceeds to point out the factual errors and the typos in a neutral tone. However, Sarah is filtering this feedback through her fun and excitement lens. And to her, it sounds like Michael was criticizing the entire presentation, calling it boring and dull. She feels defensive, and she thinks, here we go again. Nobody wants to have fun with this project. In this instance, Sarah is filtering that feedback as an attack instead of an opportunity to improve the presentation. Now, let's see how this plays out with all Enneagram types. And a quick note before we jump in, I want you to keep in mind that these are general statements. There are different factors that can play into how each type responds to criticism. For example, the severity of the criticism itself. Harsh or impersonal criticism will likely trigger a stronger negative reaction, more so than a gentle approach would. Also, not all numbers behave the same or act the same. And I want you to think of each type like a color. Let's say the type 8 is red. Well, there's a myriad of different shades of red. And the same thing is true for an Enneagram 8. So keep in mind that these will help you avoid putting yourself in a box or putting others in a box, because not every type is the same, not every 8 is the same, and these are, again, general statements. Let's jump in with the type 1. Criticism for a type 1, even if it's constructive, can be interpreted as evidence that they haven't lived up to their incredibly high standards. It can feel like confirmation of their greatest fear, not being good enough. Type 1s have a very strong internal critic, and so they might hyper-focus on that mistake rather than the opportunity to get better. For 2s, they often develop a belief that love and acceptance are conditional on their ability to help others. So criticism, Even if it's not intended that way, it can be interpreted as a sign that they've failed to meet somebody's needs, failed to be supportive, failed to meet someone's expectations. And because twos often seek validation and appreciation for their efforts, criticism stings because it feels like their actions aren't properly appreciated or recognized. For the type 3, they're going to tie their self-worth to their accomplishments. And criticism, even if small, can feel like a public blow to their image and their reputation. Because 3s are often driven to achieve and to be the best, criticism brings up feelings of inadequacy, leading them to worry that others will now see them as failures. Type 4s value their individuality and can be very sensitive to criticism. They may perceive feedback as an attack on their unique perspective or their expression. And this makes them feel like they aren't special enough. And because 4s struggle with social comparison, criticism can trigger some feelings of inadequacy if they're comparing themselves to others who, to them, seem to receive more praise. For the type 5, they value knowledge and expertise. So criticism, again, even if it's constructive, can be perceived as a challenge to their competence or their intelligence. They might question their problem-solving skills or feel as if they haven't thought things through thoroughly enough. Say that 5 times fast. But because 5s value independence and self-sufficiency, criticism often feels like a threat to their ability to handle things on their own. For the type 6, they value loyalty and trust. Criticism, even if minor, can be interpreted as a sign that they haven't lived up to the expectations of others or that they're not contributing. And this can trigger a fear of being seen as disloyal or unreliable. And because 6s struggle with trusting authority figures, criticism from a direct report might be interpreted as a threat to their security at work, deepening their fear of being fired. 7s have a deep-seated aversion to negativity and emotional pain. And criticism, even if it's constructive, can feel like a total buzzkill for them. It brings their positive mood down, and because 7s tend to avoid dwelling on negativity, they are very quick to move out of any form of uncomfortable feeling. Their natural optimism helps them bounce back pretty quickly. For the type 8, they value independence and fiercely protect their autonomy. Criticism feels oftentimes like an attempt to control their actions or to limit their power, and they might perceive it as a threat to their ability to make their own decisions or to be self-sufficient. Criticism can also trigger a defense reaction as they strive to maintain their image of strength and to avoid appearing weak. For the Enneagram 9, they often want to avoid being a burden or a problem for others. So if they receive criticism, they might worry that they've done something wrong or that their presence is causing issues. And this fear can lead to a feeling of disconnection as they withdraw to avoid further negativity. Criticism can create a sense of internal disconnection where they might feel unheard or unseen. All right, now that we've seen how criticism can affect each Enneagram type, how do we avoid these misinterpretations and actually turn criticism into an opportunity for growth? Great question. I have a very simple but powerful technique called the repeat back technique. Here's how it works. When someone gives you feedback, simply repeat back what you heard and make sure you're understanding their message correctly. Let's see how this technique works with Sarah and Michael. With the repeat back technique, Sarah listens to Michael's feedback, and instead of getting defensive or feeling like Michael is ruining all the fun, she says, okay, so you're saying there's some factual errors that maybe need fixing. Well, I want to make sure that the information is accurate too. As a result, Sarah's able to focus on fixing the errors instead of feeling personally attacked. But let's be honest, remembering the repeat back technique in the moment can be pretty tricky. When somebody gives us feedback, especially if it's critical, our brains go into fight or flight mode, and it's natural to feel defensive and want to justify ourselves rather than listen rationally. But here's the good news. With a little bit of practice, you can train yourself to stay calm and use this powerful technique, which is what our next video, Turn Criticism into Your Superpower, is all about. We'll dive deeper into practical strategies that help you stay composed and use the repeat back technique effectively, even in stressful situations. We'll also explore other tools and techniques to ensure that you not only hear the feedback, but you truly understand and leverage it for growth. So hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. All right, everyone, that's the best I have for you today. If you're curious about how the Enneagram can help you not only receive criticism, but also communicate more effectively with all different personality types, be sure to check out my Enneagram team workshop linked in the description below. It is a super fun way to learn more about yourself and about your team. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.